Hello, everybody. Welcome back to episode 2, week 2 of Yankees and Chill with your host, me, Anthony Ranieri. Now, let's get down to business. I want to start with some of the news that I found notable within the past week, and I want to start by saying goodbye to the 14-year New York Yankee Brett Gardner, who is a free agent now. The option was not picked up, and by slight chance that they do bring him back, this is going to sound ridiculous, but it doesn't look like it. So I just want to congratulate Gardner on his really, really underrated and somewhat underappreciated up until the last couple of years career in the Bronx. Also, they got rid of Darren O'Day. Whatever. They originally released Jolie Rodriguez. They didn't pick up his option, but they signed him back to a 1-year deal. So that's good. Another lefty option in the bullpen. Yeah, and Andrew Velasquez hurts. I thought Velasquez was a great story, being from the area, staying with his parents while playing with the Yankees, and he was a Yankee fan growing up. So yeah, that hurts. I felt like he was exactly what the Yankees were lacking: solid middle infield defense, and with them starting to acknowledge that they need more athletic, they need more athletic type players on the field. I thought Velasquez fit that mold. Apparently he doesn't. Whatever. The Angels picked him up. Hope he does well over there. But yeah, so that move didn't really make much sense to me. Now to Luis Rojas being interviewed to be the Yankees bench coach. Yes, only because he's coming off of being the manager of the New York Mets, and I don't know if many people realize this, but once somebody leaves the Mets, they become better at their job. Let's start with the players. Daniel Murphy. Sure, he had the big postseason with the Mets, but he didn't really become the considered top second baseman player in the game until he left the Mets to go to the Nationals, and at one point was an MVP candidate and was a million times the player that he was most of his Mets career. Justin Turner, the third baseman, was basically just another third baseman in the league. Wasn't anything looked at too special until he left the Mets to go to the Dodgers, and now the Dodgers love him because of all the great postseason moments that he has had with the Dodgers and has had great seasons, and now he's even better than he was in Queens. Travis d'Arnaud. I went to a game during the time that they thought that they were going to get Jonathan Lucroy, and d'Arnaud walked up to the plate, and the fans around were chanting Jonathan Lucroy's name. That's how much they hated d'Arnaud. That's how bad d'Arnaud was. So, yeah, Rojas should be the second coach that I could currently think of who left. Because Kevin Long left to also go to the Nationals to win a championship, which he obviously couldn't do with the Mets because they're the Mets. So anytime you could pick up anyone like from the Mets, coming off the Mets, do it. The Yankees did with Chris Young that one year where he ended up hitting home runs and then actually started producing when he came to the Bronx, and Met fans were pissed. That was a good time. So yeah, Rojas definitely bench coach. Wouldn't be against it. Support it very much because of that little curse they got going on. Anyway, The interesting topics. First base. They have been in talks with trading for Matt Olson, but Rizzo has rumored to be eager to sign back with the Yankees. It's a flip of a coin either way. The only thing is, Rizzo, I think, is more of the put the ball in play style of hitter to Olson, who looks like he will probably be a complete home run hitter if he comes to Yankee Stadium, just because he's already a power hitter, but after the whole thing with Giambi in 2002, where he was an average hitter in Oakland and then saw the short porch and took steroids and decided to be a home run hitter, which is the opposite of what he was brought to do. But I don't think that it's uncommon for players to have a little power, come to Yankee Stadium, and start swinging for the fences. So I think with Rizzo, he's already been here. I think he values his style of hitting. I think that hitting the ball in play is just what the Yankees need. So I would give the slight edge to Rizzo because they're both really good first basemen. Still an upgrade over Luke Voit. No offense, Luke Voit. It's just that, like, now the Yankees are dealing with top first baseman. Center field, they started talking about. I am really happy. It's not the Jock Peterson pick from last week that I was talking about, but Starling Marte from Oakland, Reynolds from Pittsburgh. They are both also what the Yankees need. A little bit more of a top-of-the-order style hitter, and I have no problem with getting either one of those guys. So the Yankees end up with interest with the Oakland fire sale now, with Marte and Olson and who knows who else. And funny how after the last week's episode, I found out that the Yankees are in pursuit of Verlander. Obviously, I'm not going to go into too much detail about it since I did last week about what I would think. But yeah, obviously I support Verlander in pinstripes. Shortstop is the most interesting piece to the rumor mill going around this past week. They have been reported to be in contact with Correa and Seager's agents, and people are also saying don't count out Marcus Semien. I think Marcus Semien will be a little harder to get because he's a utility player now. He proved he could play second, he could play third, obviously. He could play short. That's what he was with Oakland. So, I think he'll be the hardest one to get due to competition. I don't want Correa. Never wanted Correa. Did you hear what he said about Jeter? He said he didn't deserve any one of his 5 gold gloves, which I looked into it, and there are some gold glove years that Jeter won where he had a better fielding percentage and less errors than Carlos Correa. Correa had 11 errors. 11. According to a website that I saw looking into this, let me just look at the whole Carlos Correa defensive gold glove winning season, okay? He, in my opinion, is the biggest mouth that the Yankees just don't need. He'd be nothing but trouble. He's not a Yankee. He had 11 errors and his fielding percentage was .981, which sounds pretty good fielding percentage-wise, right? You would think. But 11 errors. Jeter, some of those years, had a better fielding percentage. In 2010, he had a .989 with 6 errors and a .986 with 8 errors the year before. Again, still better than Correa's Gold Glove season. 2006, he had a Gold Glove. 05 and 04. But to say that he doesn't deserve any of his Gold Gloves is crazy. The first 3 years for Jeter, yeah, he had over 10 errors. He had 13 and 15 twice. But also, those are the times where he used to dive into the stands, make the important plays. The flip play was still fresh in everyone's minds from a couple years before his stretch of Gold Gloves. And yeah, A-Rod was also a shortstop during those years, and he was winning the Gold Gloves with Vizquel. But let's face it, Jeter in the mid 2000s was the shortstop to have, and I will debate any option that was in the 2000s, like Miguel Tejada, any day over Jeter. So there's that. So I don't want cheating Carlos Correa. I don't trust cheating Carlos Correa. I don't respect cheating Carlos Correa. He has a big mouth. I don't like his my time thing in the postseason. I think that every time he opens his mouth, he has nothing good to say. Or when he does have something good to say, it probably is because the person is in the building or he's talking to them to their face. I just don't find Correa to be Yankee eligible. I don't think he should be considered. And I hope that he goes somewhere else and completely destroys his career. Because, again, it's obvious by the way I'm talking, but I don't like Correa. Seager, on the other hand, yeah, sure, knock yourselves out. Go get him. So there's that with the shortstop stuff. Now, it is a point in the show where I want to do the Yankee of the Week. Today, I thought I'd highlight a very important piece to 3 Yankee championships, a corner outfielder named Charlie King Kong Keller. Keller spent 13 of his 15 seasons as a Yankee from 39 to 49, and also a couple games in 1952. He had over 1,000 hits as a Yankee. His batting average is .286. He had 184 home runs out of his 189 career with the Yankees. 5-time All-Star, and helped the Yankees, like I said, win the championship in 39, 41, and 43. So Charlie Keller is your Yankee of the Week. Now that we're done with all of it, let's talk about the MVPs, shall we? Not even just the MVPs, the Cy Youngs, the Rookies of the Year, the Managers of the Year, but I want to start with the MVP. Just because of how fascinating I think the race is. Because last time that both MVPs won for teams that didn't win anything was in 1987, where the MVPs were Andre Dawson for the Chicago Cubs, and for the American League, it was George Bell over Alan Trammell, which was close for the MVP. George Bell was a Blue Jay, a very good Blue Jay. So that hasn't happened since 87, where the 2 MVPs teams don't win and go to the postseason. Because the Cubs and Blue Jays did not, in 87, go to the postseason. But this year that has a chance to happen, mostly because whoever wins in either league didn't go. You have in the American League Shohei Ohtani, which is the most boring of the award conversation debates because it's obviously Ohtani. The dude hit 45 home runs in the regular season and went 9-2 pitching wise, and actually like had a good pitching year, something that you haven't really seen from him and for a whole year. Otani's your MVP. I'm sorry. There's no compete. Yeah, Vlad Guerrero and Marcus Semien both had great offensive years, but Otani had a great offensive year and a great pitching year. It's really unfair, but what are you gonna do? Otani's Otani. End of story. MVP in the American League. National League, you have an actual case though. Harper for the Phillies, Soto for the Nationals. Sorry. And then the last one just slipped my mind. I had it. I was about to say it. Unprofessional. I can't believe I forgot his freaking... Can you believe that, guys? I forgot his name. Fernando Tatis Jr. And Fernando Tatis Jr. He hit 42 home runs, Tatis, and his team finished under 500. Soto for the Nationals, who had a great second half after the home run derby, and Bryce Harper. 2015, he won the MVP for the Nats, and I think that he does have a slight edge now with the MVP award. I think that Harper will edge out barely Tatis for that award simply because of the winning record of his team. I know that's a little unfair. There have been losing record teams to win the MVP in the past. I just think it's harder to do that when you have other guys. Statistically, yes, they're all close, so this could be a year where that happens. Like back in the day when A-Rod won an MVP for the last place Texas Rangers. It is possible. But I still think Bryce Harper has the edge over just Soto and Tatis. Yeah, and that was saying something because Tatis had a great year. You don't hit 42 home runs and after the start he had where he was terrible, so that shows that he had a great rest of the year. But come on. Harper had a great year too. He hit 309 with he had a 429 on base, and he was pretty he was good with the home runs. He had 34 home runs, drove in 87, I believe it was. Juan Soto, his numbers, if you want to just see his numbers, he had 29 home runs with 313 average, so he's kind of in the middle. And Tatis, of course, with the 25 stolen bases, the 42 homers. Another thing about Soto, I believe, is he led the league in walks, too, if you value that. So, yeah, again, statistically, all very close. I'm looking at all the numbers right now just to fact check what I'm saying. And statistically, yeah, it's really close, but I still think Harper and Otani. Cy Young Award winners you have in the American League: Lance Lynn, who's not going to win it, Garrett Cole, and Robbie Ray. Now, you would think that it would be close between Cole and Ray, but guess what? I hate to admit it, but Robbie Ray's numbers are just a little bit better. They are. His ERA is a little bit better than Cole's. Cole had a hard time down the stretch. So did Robbie Ray, but not enough to make you think, okay, this is a flip of a coin. But Cole led the American League in wins with 16, but that's not valued anymore. And he had a ERA in the threes. He had a 3.23 ERA in 181 innings. And he did have 243 strikeouts, which was third in the major leagues. But it's one of the two guys that have more strikeouts than is Robbie Ray, the guy he's trying to beat out for the award. And Zach Wheeler's the other. But yeah, when it comes to Robbie Ray, he did pitch more innings than Cole, 193 and a third. And his ERA was the best in the AL. He won the AL title, 284, with 248 strikeouts. So just better than him in strikeouts by 5, with the better ERA, winning the ERA title. It's impressive. He has 2 of the 3 of the pitching triple crown. It was just Cole got the more of the wins. National League side, Corbin Burnes had a pretty good year. I saw that at first and thought Max Scherzer, obviously, but you look at Burnes' year, he won the ERA crown as well. His ERA was 2.43, had the best strikeout rate at 35.6, Ks per 9, 12.6. His strikeout to walk was good, and he did have 234 strikeouts in just 167 innings. So that's really, really good. So after looking at his numbers, it's very interesting. But Scherzer still had almost the same ERA, just a few points off, 246 with 236 strikeouts in 179 innings. So the strikeout to innings is less impressive because he pitched more innings by, hang on, let me just do the math real quick, 12 innings more with only 2 more strikeouts. Interesting. And then he had what he usually does in the playoffs. He grinds through it, but this time the arm couldn't keep up. But yet again, these awards are voted on before the postseason, so that doesn't really come into play. The interesting thing is, if Scherzer wins, he becomes just the 5th pitcher all time to win 4 or more Cy Young awards. Roger Clemens has the most with 7. Randy Johnson has 4. Same thing with Steve Carlton and Greg Maddux. If he joins that list, he should get as many Hall of Fame votes as possible. Obviously, nobody seems to get to 100%, just the greatest closer of all time in Mariano Rivera, which is understandable because he is without a doubt the greatest at his position. But Scherzer should be getting 90-something easily. Anyway, and then the final candidate, Zach Wheeler, who went 14-10 with a 2.78 ERA, did go to the mound every 5th day. He does have 32 starts. And he also led the NL in strikeouts with 247, so he does have the slight edge there. Well, the other guys are in the 230s, and he is in the 240s. So that is very much impressive. And he also led in innings pitched with 213. Again, so the strikeout to innings ratio is also less impressive to Burnes, but Wheeler did pitch 200 innings, which in my opinion means something. But even though I looked into the numbers, I don't really see Wheeler contending for this year's Cy Young. I think it's down to Burnes and Scherzer, and to be honest with you, it's a flip of a coin there. I'll still go with Scherzer. Let's see if I'm right, and we'll go from there. American League Rookie of the Year is a couple Rays and an Astro. Randy Arozarena, Wander Franco, and Luis Garcia from Houston. And they're all very respectable. Arozarena, always have to think before I say that last name. He hit 247 with 20 homers, 69 ribbies, 20 stolen bases in 141 games, and an 815 OPS. Wander Franco, in 70 games, Remember, because they still had Willie Adames and they traded him to the Brewers, which I found surprising. But it was for Wander Franco, who in 70 games hit 288 with 30 extra base hits, 39 RBIs, 53 runs scored, and an OPS of 810. So better in average. Didn't have as many games to probably keep up with the home runs and the RBIs. I mean, he didn't. Arozarena had 30 more. But the OPS is right there. And Luis Garcia is a pitcher, so you can't necessarily just look at statistical categories, just comparing them. It's always hard when you try to have a hitter and a pitcher compete, because it's just like, well, what's more important, you know? He went 11-8, Luis Garcia, with a 3.48 ERA and 155 and a third innings, and his Ks per nine was 9.7 and a WHIP of 1.18. But Luis Garcia is the only one that pitched in the World Series. The Rays were disappointed in the division series in 5 games, even though it's not necessarily those two guys' fault. But I'll give Arozarena the leg up, just because they do value how you did the whole season rather than a few months. Just like how back in the day Gary Sanchez had a great 2 months when he first came up and hit 20 home runs, and they didn't give him the Rookie of the Year. He came in second because they said it's the Rookie of the Year, not the Rookie of August and September. And Franco didn't even play amount of games that cover half the season. So there's that. So I'm going to go with Arozarena over there. And in the National League is another trio of very, very, very good options. Every time I watched MLB Network and a Reds game was on, I always saw Jonathan India doing something. And he did have 21 homers. He hit 269 and 12 stolen bases in 150 games. And he was 5th among NL qualifiers in on-base percentage. So that is a very impressive case for Jonathan India. But Dylan Carlson in 145 games, so he played 5 less games, joined Vlad Guerrero Jr. and Juan Soto and also Fernando Tatis as the only player 22 or younger to qualify for the batting title. So that has to be considered. He did have 31 doubles, had 18 RBIs, and he would be the second Rookie of the Year for St. Louis in the past 35 years, because Albert Pujols won it. So there's that. So good for Dylan Carlson. He also has a good one. Trevor Rogers for Miami. I heard that name a lot the last couple years, like as a watch-out guy. He had a 2.64 ERA. The third lowest by a rookie who pitched 130 innings since 2000. Jose Fernandez and Walker Buehler are the others. He did not allow more than 2 runs in 22 of his 25 starts, which is very impressive, which explains why the ERA is in the 2s. And the Marlins have a good history at winning these awards. I believe he would be the 5th since 2003, and the 3rd pitcher for the Marlins. So yeah, again, it's the hitter-pitcher comparisons. I think they value people who go out there and play every day with these awards, where pitchers and position players can both be eligible to win even though the pitchers have won, but they need to be like the most dominant thing in the season, like the talk of the town. It's between India and Carlson. It depends on what you value. Do you value the high average extra base guy in Jonathan India, who gets on base, kind of the new school kind of player, or Dylan Carlson, who was still there with the power numbers, and he's just more of an all-around hitter, so kind of more old school. But because it's new school, and that's the way writers look at it, I think Jonathan India has a better chance to win. That might be the closest one so far. Actually, maybe the NL MVP is the closest one so far. American League Manager of the Year award: Dusty Baker, Kevin Cash, Scott Service. That's an interesting one. I don't see Baker winning it just because the Astros were expected to be the Astros, unfortunately. Kevin Cash, I mean, the Rays went to the World Series last year, and they did win 100 games this year, which I don't believe the Rays have ever done. But yet again, was it just Kevin Cash that caused it? No. That front office does things that make you scratch your head, but they always seem to work out. I think that they should get more of the credit than Kevin Cash for how the Rays have been doing the last few years. The favorite should be Service from Seattle, because the Mariners won 90 games. How in the world did they win 90 games? Did anybody before the season start look at the Mariners and say, "Hey, that's a 90 game winning team right there"? No. But they did. So you got to give that manager credit, because anytime a team that wasn't expected to be good performs well, the manager always has something to do with it. In the National League, you have Craig Counsell, Gabe Kapler, and Mike Shildt. It'd be funny if Shildt won because he got fired from the Cardinals for difference in the view of the current state of the club and where it's going to go in the future. I guess that's the best way to explain it. But to be honest, the Brewers kind of limped in due to a weak division. The Cardinals had to win 17 games in a row just to make the wild card, so they weren't doing that great either. The guy who's gonna win this is Gabe Kapler for the Giants, for the same reason that I said for the American League. A team that wasn't expected to do well did really well. 107 wins when nobody thought that they were even going to contend at any point during the season. So obviously Gabe Kapler is your NL Manager of the Year award. So those are all the awards that will be given out this week. I can't wait to see how correct my thoughts were. But yeah. So next week, I'm thinking about talking about the Hall of Fame ballot. This episode's running a little long, my bad. But I'll see you all next week. Thank you for listening to Yankees and Chill. Goodbye.